We know it was a provocative thumbnail and title to this video, but it's true. What the is it about this game? It's Flip 7 is what we're talking about. And yes, right now, you might be asking yourself, wait, why are you talking about Flip 7? This game came out last year at Gen Con. That is true. But you know what? You can barely find this thing right now. We just looked online. And if you happen to come across it at a local friendly game store, buy it. Because Amazon doesn't have it. Miniature Market didn't have it when we looked. Literally, I did a Google shopping search, and all of the ones that came up also said unavailable at the moment.
It's sold out everywhere. And I just, first of all, I do want to say, you might be saying that about Flip 7. It came out at Gen Con. That was only 5 months ago.
That is true.
So I know in the board game world, it's like if it's more than a month old, it might as well be a year ago. But people are still finding this game. People are still, it's spreading outside of the world of gaming into the casual audience, which I think for the op is great news.
Oh, I think this is huge news. And to Ryan's point, not only is this just finding its way out to a lot of people, it found its way to me.
That's a good point.
Just this holiday season. So this came out, it was available at Gen Con in 2024.
We put a lot
There were
of
some
it
people
at Gen
playing
Con.
it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
But I saw it being played at Gen Con by a big group. Everyone was talking about this quite a bit, saying they're having a ton of fun with it. Shortly after Gen Con, I played it 3-player. It was me, Alicia, and Emily from here on the channel. We played it, and I was like, okay, I get it. It's
the bare minimum player count.
I would not even say that.
Well,
I would
technically
say,
speaking, they say 3 is the bare minimum player count.
Right.
But, yeah.
This game exponentially gets better the more people you play it with. And by the more people, I mean just keep adding people. Like I played this over the holidays with, I want to say at least 10 people around the table with extended family, both on my side and on Alicia's side. Everyone had so much fun that we played this game over the holidays more than any other game. Everyone so many people at those tables were like, what's that called? And getting on their phones, wanting to order it. They're probably due in part to the shortage that exists right now. But these are even not like board gamers. These are casual gamers, people who don't play a lot of games. They wanted this game because it was so much fun, and it gets so much better the more people you have at the table.
Oh, for sure.
It's hard to even put into words.
It appeals to so many players, and I think for a couple reasons. First of all, the reason we played it so much, it's easy to play. It's a 20-minute game, but it is a push your luck style game, and nothing draws attention to a table faster than people playing a push your luck game when the luck hits. And everybody just loses it.
Or when the luck doesn't
Or when
hit.
it devastatingly doesn't. You're not maybe cheering. You're the one with the, but everybody else is
but the thing is,
your failure.
Even when, if you have the right mix of people, the game plays so quickly that even when the luck doesn't go your way, most people have fun with that too. So just to let you know, if you haven't played it or if you haven't heard of it, we're going to give you a brief description. You're basically on your turn, the dealer, one of the people at the table, is looking at you and saying, do you want a card or do you want to stay? So in that way, it feels like blackjack. So it's got that sort of intensity of a casino game where, okay, you're pushing your luck. You want another card? They flip over another card. Here's what you're trying to do. You're trying to collect cards of different values because every round you're going to get the points of the value cards that you have in front of you. And if you get to 7 cards, that will actually end the round. But what's tricky is that there are a bunch of 6s, a bunch of 11s.
Yeah, there's
so
6 6s, 11 11s.
There's numbers 0 through 12.
Yeah.
And there's 12 12s. There's 1 1. There's 1 0. That's the only weird outlier. But you get the idea. So the higher the number, the more points you'll get. But the riskier it is to have that card in front of you. Because if you have a 12 as your first card and it comes back around to you, there's a lot of 12s left in that deck potentially. More on player count in a second, though, because that can get interesting at higher player counts.
I got thoughts on that.
But if you take a card and you get a second card of one that you already have, you've busted. You don't get any points that round. You're going to keep playing rounds like this until someone has 200 points at the end of the round. That's going to end the game. And like I said, during a round, if someone ever gets 7 different cards in front of them, that will also end the round. And at any point, you can stay. Say if you have a 12, an 11, and a 10, and you're like, those are 3 very risky cards. I'm going to stay. You're going to bank the total sum of those cards. Now, here's where it gets interesting because there are some special cards that can come up.
Yeah, and they can give like a whole bunch of things. There's the freeze card, there's a flip 3 card, there's a points modifiers, there's second chance. All of these cards are cards that you can be lucky enough to be drawn. And first of all, let me tell you, you get a huge sigh of relief when it's one of these cards. Because these are all really powerful. They'll either let you kind of hurt your opponents or they'll benefit you by giving you more points to your cards. The freeze one is kind of fun because it kind of freezes somebody, they're out. And you can use it to stop somebody literally from winning the game.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And then there's ones like draw 3 where you just have to flip 3 cards. You have to hope you're taking a big risk. But you said it feels like a casino game. And even though this game has no stakes, you're just playing for points. I don't recommend putting money on the table.
There's no betting.
There's no betting or anything like that. It's simply for points. But that anxiety that you feel when one of these cards comes out, like it is palpable. Like it feels like you're there at the casino table.
And it's fun to be the dealer too. Everyone should get a chance to be a dealer.
Uh-huh.
I will say this. I usually deal the entire game when I'm playing with
you gotta
new
let
people.
people have some
No.
fun.
I wanted all the fun. It is really fun to be the one who's like, do you want another?
Yeah,
Boom. And they bust. Or even on the flip side, if they get something that just keeps them going closer to those 7 cards, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, the freeze you can use to freeze yourself, although most people don't freeze themselves or else they would have just stayed anyway. But the flip 3 you can use on yourself or on someone else. So if someone else has a bunch of cards,
backfire.
like I said, the 10, 11, 12, there's a lot of those in the deck. So if I get a flip 3, I might play it on Ryan. He has to flip 3 more cards, avoiding any of the cards that he already has. This can be very interesting, particularly in a higher player count game. Same with the freeze. Later in the rounds when everyone's like, okay, who's close to 200 points? Because that's going to end the game. Oh, you're close to 200? Here, take 3 more cards. And hopefully they bust. But sometimes you do that. And they get 3 more cards that they didn't need,
that didn't already have.
There's also a second chance card.
Oh, that's true. That saves your life. You can hold on to it if
this
you're
is
going
the
to bust.
best card to get. If you get a second chance card,
like,
you just
hit me,
sit that
hit
aside,
me.
and you've at least got 1 layer of armor.
Yeah.
And then, like Ryan said, there's some cards that modify your points. None of the cards that we just described count as any of the 7 cards that you're trying to collect in front of you. And again, like we said, you don't have to collect 7. You can stop and stay at any time and just bank those points.
The round ends when everybody stays, and then everybody counts up the point. Everyone that survived, that didn't bust, counts up the points. But I think that is one thing about this game. You mentioned it, and I want to talk about it because just from describing this game, you think, oh, well, okay, it flips, pass, whatever, stay. You don't really know. Like it's completely luck. It's 100%, RNG. I've heard people say, whatever.
It's a random game.
But the more players you have, the less it is. And this is what I really love about this game at higher player counts because you can mitigate. You can really think about it. It's not so much just a random luck game because I don't love just like random chance. But you're looking, and if you have a 5, and you can look around the table, if there's enough players, you might see 4 other 5s out there.
Well, if you see 4 other 5s,
and you're like, well, then I'm good.
Safe.
Right, and you can kind of do that math and be like, okay, well, 12 is risky, but there's at least 6 12s on the table. So in a 3-player game, it's really difficult. You're not seeing a ton of cards. It's very difficult to do that math.
But on the flip side of that, what makes the chaos and the randomness so much fun is when everyone takes their first card, right? Everyone gets an initial card. And I've played so many games where someone got a 4, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, it comes back around to them. They're just deciding whether they want to take their second card. Even if there are no other 4s on the table.
Oh, yeah.
In this massive deck, there are only 3 other 4s. So they're like, oh, yeah, hit me. In fact, almost everyone takes a hit on their second card.
Unless you get a 12, maybe. But yeah.
When you get a second 4 as your second card and bust, it is hilarious. Even to the person that it happens to, it's just so much fun. And you might be sitting there thinking, this sounds like just a complete, silly, stupid, random game. You know what? You're not wrong.
Yeah,
like,
you're not.
It is.
It
but
has
it
a
is
charm. It has so much
fun.
charm to it, and that feeling of pushing your luck, and that ability to just laugh at yourself and be like, I can't believe I hit that second 4. Because the game is 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes max.
It can go a little longer if you're playing with a lot of people.
But and even so, it's like a round is only like a couple minutes, right?
Oh,
so
sure.
even if you bust out and you're like, oh, okay, I busted out, you're back in the action again 5 minutes later at max, right? So it's not like it ruins your game and you're just sitting over the corner while everybody else plays. It's quick and everybody's busting. I mean, people are busting left and right. Like crazy stuff, 7, and there's another 7. Like anytime you think you're safe, you're probably not safe. And I think that's the real joy and fun of the game is those like big dramatic moments.
Yeah, well, and those big dramatic moments don't have to be yours to have fun. So many times people, like Ryan was just saying, people busted out while I was playing this over the holidays. Even young kids who generally, if they're out of the game, they're done, right? They're not paying attention. But we had moments where towards later in the later rounds, everyone's asking before the next round, what's the standings? How close is someone?
Who are we trying to make bust?
And then someone's at 190. They're 10 points away. So everyone else at the table is sitting there going, okay, we can't let them win.
Yeah, we got to freeze them.
If anyone gets a freeze them. Or if anyone gets a play 3, flip 3 on them, that sort of thing, which makes it very, very interesting. And we had people who were like we had some comebacks where someone was about to win and there was one other person at the table. So everyone else just kind of like started rooting for that underdog and they were like flipping, trying to get, and they would get 7 cards. You get 7 cards, by the way, you get a bonus 15 points.
I don't think I've ever seen it happen.
Oh, what?
No.
Oh, we haven't played enough.
Well, we played a ton, but it just seems like I've never gotten it. I have never gotten a full 7.
We've seen that happen a few times when we played, and people score. I mean, I've seen a lot of hands scoring in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
Or up. And, 90s in
That's
a 200-point game.
Yeah, that's half your points
That's
almost.
a lot of points.
That is a lot of points.
But regardless, it is such a blast to play. Now, I know it feels like we're probably taunting you. We started by saying it's unavailable. This is going to be reprinted. And I will say, I do think this is going to be one of those games that I would recommend. I feel if I'd played this with my extended family like I did over the holidays, this would have inevitably been in my top 10.
It was on a lot of top 10 lists last year. Yeah.
I really wish I'd have played it more with bigger groups because I didn't play another game in all of last year that I would recommend to almost everybody who asked me. This is a guaranteed game for your collection because if you play this, again, with higher player counts, I actually think, I wouldn't even say 3 is the minimum. I would honestly say 5 maybe.
No, I would,
and even then, that, as good as that might be, it doesn't even come close to comparing to the fun of playing this with
10
8
or 12
plus.
Yeah.
And there is no cap, really. You could play this with almost any number of people.
Look how big that deck is.
Yeah, it's a huge deck. The box basically just says 3 plus.
Yeah, that's what I said. I understand why they didn't say 5 plus, even though personally I do feel like it is more of a 5 plus.
Yeah, theoretically, if they're gonna say 3 plus, they could have said 1 plus.
Just play by, I mean,
But play this with as many people as you can. It's a great game to have around when you have a big group.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I see this is a game that you're going to see, I think, on Walgreens shelves right next to Phase 10 and Uno. Like, it's that kind of game.
It really is that kind of game. I laughed at this when it came out, but they said, Flip 7, the greatest card game of all time. I'm not willing to endorse that quite yet, but like Ryan just said, Flip 7 is 100% going to be the kind of game that sits alongside those games, sits alongside Uno, that's basically should be a household name.
I agree.
Because you play this with anyone who's not a board gamer, someone at the table is going to want to order it. I had multiple people try and order it online after we played it.
And after this video, you're going to try to go order it too. And
But sorry, we have bad news for you. You won't be able to get it.
Soon. I know they're reprinting it. I know they've got plans for doing other versions, other editions.
Like super fancy versions.
Maybe some fancy versions.
The deck of cards, this has seen a lot of mileage already from my family alone. This is held up very well.
Yeah. They're nice cards.
The good news is you're never holding the cards, right?
Right, you're not shuffling them through, you're not riffling them.
You're literally just flipping them over and people are putting them in front of you. So there's not a lot of grubbiness, not a lot of mungy hands getting all over them.
Right.
But it is held up quite nicely after a lot of play. But yeah, look for the new versions, the deluxe versions or whatever. But if Flip 7 is in front of you at a store, I highly recommend you
Yep.
buying it. If you have any questions about it at all, please make them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think of Flip 7, because I'm sure there's people
It's a little
out there.
polarizing.
I'm sure there's people out there who want to say it's dumb. I say to you, you don't know what fun is.
Right. I mean, this is not your deep strategy game. This is your poker table game. This is your casino game. But
Yeah.
but for all ages and with no stakes. It's great.
Play it with your family. Have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.